Hey guys, welcome to the show. This is kind of this is an impromptu show. I didn't plan on recording anything tonight, but when I came home and I got inside, I looked up at the sky and I looked at the stars. And when I looked at the stars told me to set up your camera and record. You guys want to hear a hilarious story that ends in tragedy? So tonight I'm hanging out at the bar Gypsy Moon and I'm talking to a friend of mine, and I joke about how I know when a new celebrity dies, because instantly my mom texts it to me because she's just like obsessed with the drama and the sadness and everything. So if somebody dies, I'm going to hear it from, my mom's going to text me. And she texted me when Norm Macdonald died. So after I finish telling her this whole thing about what my mom does, I check out my phone, and there's a text from my mom that said Bob Saget died. First of all, the irony that I was just talking about it is insane. That's a true story that actually happened. And the first thing I thought about was Norm Macdonald, because him and Norm Macdonald were best friends, and Norm Macdonald is my ultimate hero in comedy, period. Now, after Norm died, there were really two great podcasts that were put out as a tribute to Norm. A real fun one to listen to would be the Conan podcast, the Conan O'Brien Needs a Friend podcast. They talk about Norm's style of comedy and talk a lot of really good stories about him. And then Bob Saget's also been doing a podcast called Bob Saget's Here For You. And he did a special show about Norm after Norm passed, and he was one of Norm's closest friends for decades and decades and decades. Bob Saget directed Norm Macdonald's only starring film, Dirty Work. And you also may remember him from Half-Baked, that infamous scene. Bob Saget.
Marijuana is not a drug. I used to suck dick for coke. I seen them. Now that's an addiction, man. You ever suck some dick for marijuana?
No, I can't say I have.
I didn't think so.
And the podcast that Bob Saget released about Norm, I couldn't listen to it because he was devastated. He was devastated to lose Norm. And it was just too hard to listen to. I still haven't finished it because it's just so sad to hear Danny Tanner sad, you know? You ever light a joint and almost catch your nose on fire? It's harder when you have nose hairs, man. This joint seems a little misrolled somehow. There's something funky with this joint. Our hearts go out to all friends of Bob Saget, because there were a lot of good friends of Bob Saget, of course. As far as best friends go, Norm has a few. Norm had a few, and one of them was certainly Bob Saget. You know, and certain deaths hit you, and this one just hit me because it was hard. But anyway, Bob Saget touched me in 2 generations on my penis, and that would be a Bob Saget joke if he could write it right now. His stand-up comedy is so dirty, and when I say he touched me in 2 generations, when I was a younger fella, when I was a kid, there used to be this show called Full House on. And it was the main show of something called TGIF. And me being a fan of TV and sitcoms, man, I looked forward to TGIF. Full House, Family Matters, Perfect Strangers. There were some other shows, but Full House is one of those classic shows that'll never be forgotten. And the character of Danny Tanner is so innocent and wholesome. And see, the thing is that while while Bob Saget was playing Danny Tanner, like in his private world, he had to kind of reel it back a little bit because he became known as America's dad, the first since Bill Cosby, which we don't want to consider a dad anymore. But this was America's dad who wouldn't rape ladies like Bill Cosby did. So for years and years and years, he held his dirtiness back. Like kind of Danny Tanner from Full House. He'd always have a big smile and keep it all clean and everything. But little did I know. Let's make use of the old smartphone here. Bob Saget stand-up specials.
According to Wikipedia, Robert Lane Saget was an American stand-up comedian, actor, television host, and director.
Dude, Google is already saying was. That's so stupid. I can't believe this robot's always already telling us that he died. It's not right. Real quick, a few years back they did a roast of Bob Saget. And it's not what you think. They didn't put him up on one of them racks and try to roast the fella. They had a bunch of comedians and Bob Saget's friends. If you've heard of these roasts before, they're very entertaining. So it's a Comedy Central roast of Bob Saget, and everybody goes up with just the meanest jokes in the world, And then Norm Macdonald goes up, and it's known as probably one of the most special roast speeches of all time. If I'm able to put a little bit up here, I will. I'll put a clip.
Bob, you have a lot of well-wishers here tonight, and a lot of them would like to throw you down one, a well. They want to murder you in a well. Seems a little harsh, but apparently they want to murder you in a well. It says here on this card.
But you can find the whole thing somewhere out there.
Now, but Bob has a beautiful face, like a flower. Yeah, cauliflower. As you can see, he has wavy hair. It's waving goodbye on account he's going bald. No, there are times when Bob has something on his mind, when he wears a hat.
Anyway, at some point, and Google has been no help at all, Bob Saget released a stand-up special called That's What I'm Talking About. I just remembered it. It's called That's What I'm Talking About. And it was his first, big stand-up special since the Full House time. And so one day my brother was like, yo, you want to watch Bob Saget do stand-up comedy? And I'm like, Danny Tanner? Sure, man, sure. But he's a great stand-up comedian. Was he going to tell Michelle jokes? Michelle was the baby on that show. So if I remember correctly, and I may not, we got all high and we watched the Bob Saget stand-up special. Belly hurting, laughter, painful belly laughing. It was so inappropriate. Everything about it was wrong. And I may not be right about the name of the special. That's what I'm talking about. It's one of the stand-up specials. When he came back and started doing stand-up comedy again, wow, man. What a dirty fucking comic, dude. And I couldn't believe it, This was like Danny Tanner. And he was being really filthy. And we all know and love Bob Saget from America's Funniest Home Videos, which eventually evolved into something called YouTube, which is what you're watching right now. And that was around the Full House time, the America's Funniest Home Videos. It really was like the first incarnation of YouTube, basically. It's how YouTube started off generally, was America's Funniest Home Videos. Bloopers and shit. He was very, very present in all of our lives in the late 80s and 90s as the star of Full House, as the host of America's Funniest Home Videos. Bob Saget was America's friend. Bob Saget wasn't truly America's friend. And I appreciate his clean stuff. I appreciate the Full House. And I appreciate the dirty stuff, too. Dirty stuff is friggin' hilarious. Let's see if I can get some more coffee or cocaine. I don't know. They're right next to each other. I don't know. Either I'll pick the coffee or the cocaine. I chose the coffee. I don't do drugs. Have you ever sucked dick for weed, man? Bob Saget, man. He had like one scene in that Half-Baked movie, and it was the most like famous and best scene in the freaking movie. It was hilarious.
You ever suck some dick for marijuana?
When Bob started talking about Norm Macdonald after he died on the podcast, the tribute episode, you could tell that he was very, very, very deeply saddened. And from the reports right now, it just seems like he was found dead in a hotel room. But losing Norm was very, very hard on him. And I'm just wondering if he started going on a downhill path after Norm died. Maybe his heart attacked him. You know, you always think of the heart as a great thing and everything. You give people on Valentine's and everything, but, you know, it's the only thing that eventually will attack and kill you. Your own heart. You know, maybe it was drugs, maybe it was accident, maybe he escaped life on purpose. I don't know. Norm Macdonald has a great comedy bit about autoerotic asphyxiation. It's a fancy word for a very filthy thing. It's basically when a dude ties a noose around his neck and starts hanging himself and whacking off, right? I think if Bob decided to end his own life, he would do that autoerotic asphyxiation because it would be the greatest joke ever told in a suicide. Bob Saget, up until the end of his life, was doing great stand-up comedy. He was doing a great podcast that he started during COVID, which I tried to contact several times. I wanted to talk to Bob Saget because he was talking to a lot of people. I never got through. So he lived a good life up till the end. And he's one of those folks who will never die because he's always going to be remembered. The more you know. It's a true fact, man. Nobody really dies if they're remembered. Oh shit, that means Hitler's alive. Except for Hitler. Anyway, I've made no secret about my love for Norm Macdonald. Definitely the biggest influence on the way I try to deliver comedy in some way. I'm not dirty like Saget. I can't be dirty like Saget. After I cried for a little bit, I looked up at the sky and of course saw those stars. I love those stars. And the first thing I thought of was that Norm is with his best friend again. Somewhere. Somehow. Maybe. You know, what if it's the old classic heaven deal, man? That means that Norm Macdonald and Bob Saget are up in heaven together, planning on making Dirty Work 2, which will premiere in heaven and possibly get them sent down to the other place. So yeah, I just wanted to get on microphone and talk about these guys. Both guys very special to me. But yeah, Norm got his best friend following him right up there, man. Bob Saget was like, "Hey, wait for me, Norm." And Norm was like, "Are you sure, Bob? Because, like, you know, this is kind of final and everything, right?" And then Bob was like, "I don't know, dude. Like, I want to hang out with you." And Norm's like, "Well, you know, Bob, whatever you want to do, man. I mean, you can follow me if you want, man. It seems like there's pearly gates up there, man, just like I read in that book, man. Oh, and God's up there, too." I'm obviously a little sad at the news. And the way I deal with tragedy is by making jokes. So I think I made a couple jokes during my time on the microphone here. And I'm sure Bob Saget would approve of every single one of them. He'd be like, "Dude, that was fucked up, man. Nice." That's it, guys. I think that's it. I don't know what else to say. There's a fortune cookie on my desk. Remember when that happened last time, man? And it was something deep. There's always one fortune cookie on my desk. I don't really know. Ew, this is an old cookie. Shit. We treat this world of ours as though we had a spare in the trunk. Ooh. An environmental message from Chinese food. Do you think climate activists are hijacking Chinese cookies by chance and putting their propaganda in them? No, it actually makes sense. We should treat the world great. We should treat the planet great, and we should treat each other great. Well, guys, whatever you like to do, say a prayer, tip a 40, smoke a bowl, smoke a joint, smoke a blunt, give it up for Bob Saget and Norm Macdonald. I think that's all I got. Obama out.